No one expected it. Not after everything we saw. Not after all the pain Amy went through. But when the screen faded in on season 19, episode 1, and the barn door creaked open with that slow, quiet wind, fans froze. Because standing there, in the light, was the one person everyone thought was gone forever. Ty Borden. Yes, that Ty. The man we cried for. The man we thought we'd lost. And now, he's back. But how? Why now? What does this mean for Heartland and for Amy? Ty Borden wasn't just a character in Heartland. He was the heart of it. From the very beginning, when he arrived at the ranch as a troubled teen with a dark past, fans watched him grow into someone who inspired everyone around him. He found family at Heartland. He learned how to care for animals, and most importantly, he learned how to love with all his heart. His connection with Amy wasn't rushed. It was real, and it took time. That's what made it so powerful. Together, they faced wild horses, angry clients, family drama, and even death. But they always found their way back to each other. Ty didn't just love Amy. He helped her become the strong woman she is today. He was there when her mother died. He believed in her dreams. He stood by her side when she opened up her heart to the world. And when they finally got married, fans celebrated like it was their own wedding day. Then came Lyndy. Ty, as a father, was a joy to watch. He was gentle, thoughtful, and fiercely protective. It felt like their family was finally complete. So when Ty died in season 14, it shattered everything. The loss was sudden. 1 minute, he was saving a horse. The next, he was gone. A blood clot from a gunshot wound took him from Amy and Lyndy, and from us. The silence he left behind was too loud. It echoed through the ranch, through every episode that followed. Amy was no longer Amy. Not completely. Something in her eyes changed. The light dimmed. Viewers around the world cried. Many said they couldn't watch the show without him. But the writers did something brave. They didn't rush the healing. They let Amy grieve, and they showed what it's really like to live with that kind of heartbreak. Season after season, we saw her trying to be strong for Lyndy, for Jack, for herself. But Ty was always there, in her dreams, in her thoughts, in her quiet moments. Even when he was gone, Ty's spirit stayed in the story. His name would come up during family talks. His photos were still in the house. And every time Amy looked at Lyndy, we knew she was seeing a piece of Ty. That's why his return is so powerful. It's not just a shock. It's a storm of emotions. For Amy. For the family. For all of us. Some fans believed Ty might return somehow. Others had moved on, thinking it was impossible. After all, he had a proper goodbye. But now, with episode 1 of season 19, that belief is shaken. Was he ever truly gone? Or was there something we all missed? Is this a trick? A dream, or something much deeper? Whatever the truth is, one thing is clear. Ty's story isn't over, and neither is Amy's. It started with silence. Not the kind that feels calm, but the kind that presses on your chest. Amy had grown used to waking up alone. The space in her bed stayed cold, untouched. She would hear the early sounds of the ranch, horses breathing, wind brushing against the window, but Ty's voice was never one of them. And yet something was different this time. The stillness wasn't empty. It was expectant, like the world was holding its breath. Amy had learned to live without Ty, or at least she told herself that. She focused on raising Lyndy, running the ranch, and keeping her emotions tucked away. Everyone around her praised her strength, but being strong doesn't mean you stop hurting. She missed his laugh, his steady presence, the way he could calm a nervous horse, and her heart with the same quiet patience. She never stopped talking to him, especially late at night when the world felt heavy. But those talks were always one-sided, or so she thought. In episode 1, season 19, Amy begins to feel something she can't explain. She's fixing a broken fence post, nothing special, when a sudden breeze carries a faint scent, cedar and leather. Ty's scent. She freezes. Her hand trembles. She looks around but no one's there. Later, she's in the barn brushing one of the horses when the animal suddenly lifts its head and stares at the door. Amy follows its gaze, and for a second, just one, she sees a shadow. Tall, familiar, but it's gone in an instant. She doesn't tell anyone. Not Jack, not Lou. What could she say? That she's losing her mind, seeing ghosts? She keeps it to herself, until she finds the letter. The letter is old, folded neatly and tucked under a loose floorboard in Ty's old workspace. It's addressed to Amy, but the handwriting is different, hesitant, as if written by someone unsure of what to say. Amy opens it with shaking hands, her heart pounding louder than a galloping horse. The letter talks about love, loss, and a difficult choice. It doesn't say much, but it ends with 6 words that stop her breath. I had to protect you both. Amy reads that line over and over. The words don't make sense. Protect her? From what? The man who wrote this sounded like Ty. But how? And why would he hide a letter like this? Her sleep becomes restless. In her dreams, she sees Ty, not the memory of him, but something more vivid. He looks real, older, worn, but alive. He reaches, for her but never touches. He whispers something, but the words blur like mist. When she wakes, the tears on her face are fresh. Amy tries to go about her day like normal, but nothing feels normal. Jack watches her quietly. He knows something's shifted in her, but he doesn't press. One evening, while feeding the horses, Amy notices Jack looking at an old photo of Ty. His eyes aren't just sad, they're conflicted, like he's holding on to a secret. That's when Amy confronts him. She asks Jack if he knows anything about the letter, about the strange feelings she's been having. Jack hesitates. His silence is answer enough. He finally speaks, and though his words are few, they shake her. Sometimes, Amy, love demands impossible choices. The camera doesn't linger long on Jack's face. It cuts to Amy, holding the letter, standing in the barn where so many memories were made. She looks up at the loft where Ty used to read, where they shared quiet moments. Her eyes fill again, not just with sadness, but with something new. Hope. And just like that, the stillness that once haunted her begins to hum with something else. Something alive. Something coming. It wasn't just a feeling anymore. It was a pattern. A trail of signs that Amy couldn't explain away. At first, she thought it was grief. Maybe her mind was playing tricks. But when the clues started showing up again and again, it became harder to believe this was just her imagination. It began with the saddle. It had been stored away for years, Ty's favorite one. No one touched it. Amy made sure of that. But one morning, while walking past the tack room, she stopped. The saddle was out. Not only that, it had been cleaned, oiled, ready for use. Her heart dropped. She asked Caleb if he'd moved it. He hadn't. No one had. And yet, there it was. Then came the horses. They started behaving strangely. Spartan, in particular. He'd grown calmer with age, but now he was restless. Ears twitching, pacing, turning toward the woods behind the ranch like he expected someone to walk through them. Amy watched him closely. That horse had always been connected to Ty, more than anyone. It was like Spartan could feel something before anyone else. And this time, he wasn't wrong. But the biggest clue? It came from Lyndy. Children don't lie about dreams, not like this. One evening, Lyndy climbed into Amy's lap and whispered something that made her blood run cold. "Daddy said he misses you." Amy's heart nearly stopped. She asked Lyndy to repeat it. The little girl nodded, innocent and certain. "I saw him. He was in the barn. He told me to tell you." Amy didn't know what to say. She held her daughter close, not knowing whether to cry or laugh or scream. It couldn't be real. Could it? The next day, she started looking. Really looking. She went back to the barn, searching every corner for another letter, another piece of evidence. She retraced Ty's old steps, visited the places they once walked together, and then, behind a stack of hay bales, she found it, a box. Inside, a flannel shirt, a worn journal, and a photograph of Amy and Lyndy. The photo was recent, far too recent for Ty to have taken before he died. Her hands shook as she opened the journal. The pages were mostly blank, except the last one. Written in Ty's unmistakable handwriting were the words, "I'm trying to come home." Amy broke. Her legs gave out. She sat in the hay, journal clutched to her chest, breath caught in her throat. Everything she thought she knew, everything she forced herself to accept, it was falling apart. Was it possible? Could he have survived, faked his death, been taken? Or was this some elaborate cruelty? Jack found her there. He didn't say anything. Just sat beside her looking down at the journal. Amy turned to him, eyes full of questions, but again, his answer was quiet. Some stories take time to return. Episode 1 doesn't give us all the answers. It only stirs the dust. But in every scene, every line, every haunting silence, it whispers that something big is coming, something no one saw coming. And somewhere, just out of sight, Ty is waiting. The night was too still. The kind of stillness that makes the wind feel like it's watching. Amy stood by the barn door long after everyone else had gone to bed. Her hands were trembling, but not from the cold. She clutched Ty's journal against her chest like a lifeline, her mind spinning through every clue, every word Lyndy had said, every look Jack had given. It all pointed to something, but it made no sense. Then, Spartan neighed. It wasn't the usual sound. This time, it was sharp, urgent. Amy turned her head. The horse was wide-eyed, staring out across the field. That's when she saw it. A shadow, just beyond the pasture at the edge of the woods. Not walking, standing still, watching. She froze. Her breath caught. Her heart pounded like a drum in her ears. The figure stepped forward, slow, uncertain. The moonlight touched his face. Just enough. Amy dropped the journal. She couldn't move. Couldn't breathe because the face, it was his. Ty older, leaner, but real. Real in a way that no dream ever felt. His eyes met hers across the field, wide with emotion, with pain, with love. He looked like he hadn't slept in years, like he'd been running through a nightmare, and just now made it back. Amy took a shaky step forward, then another. But before she could speak, before she could even whisper his name, he turned and ran. Not toward her. Away. Amy cried out, chasing after him. Her boots pounded the dirt. "Ty!" she screamed. "Ty!" But he was already disappearing into the shadows. Her voice broke. Her legs gave way. And she collapsed into the grass, sobbing into the night, too stunned to believe what she had seen. Was it real? Or had her grief finally broken her mind? That moment is the emotional core of episode 1. A man returned from the dead, but only for a second. It's the moment that turns the entire season on its head. The moment that reopens every wound Amy worked so hard to heal, and it leaves fans spinning with questions. Why did he run? Where has he been? Is he in danger? Why did no one tell her? The next morning, Amy doesn't speak. Jack tries to ask. Lou watches with concern, but Amy's eyes are distant, haunted. Lyndy hugs her quietly. She draws a picture, one that shows a man, a woman, and a little girl standing together under a tree. At the bottom, she writes, "Daddy came back." Amy stares at it for a long time. In the final scene, she returns to the barn, alone. She kneels where she found the journal, and in her soft, broken voice, She whispers to the empty air, "I saw you, Ty. I know you were here. Please, come home." The screen fades to black, and the silence. This time, it feels like a promise.